What's up, y'all, and welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. We've just seen the first wave of free agency, and since our last episode, we had some signings as well as some departures, so we're going to talk about that, along with some other Eagles news involving a retirement and a rule change. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive right into some Eagles news. So this first bit, it's a little more Packers related, but it does apply to the Eagles, as the official proposal for a rule change was submitted Wednesday for the owners' meeting regarding the tush push. So, the proposal would apply to Rule 12, Section 1, which reads, to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who was lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. I know we've talked about this before in a previous episode, but this proposal was officially submitted along with some other teams' official rule changes. It's related to the Eagles because it's clear as fucking day that this rule change proposal is targeting the Eagles' famous tush-push brotherly shove. Listen, the play has never resulted in any injuries or any serious injuries, I should say, nor does it break any current rules. The Packers organization, amongst some other teams like the Buffalo Bills, are just still butthurt as fuck that they can't stop it the old-fashioned way by doing it on the field, so they're looking for a cop-out by attempting to stop it with a rule change. Now, I highly, highly doubt that this will actually go in effect. But if it does, I can imagine that it's not going to be a good look for the league. The Eagles also proposed a rule change to Rule 16, Section 1, which is to, quote, align the postseason and regular season overtime rules by granting both teams an opportunity to possess the ball regardless of the outcome of the first possession, subject to a 15-minute overtime period in the regular season. Basically, the outcome of this rule would be to prevent ties. Since if neither team scores within a 10-minute period in an overtime game, the game ends in a tie with what the rules state right now. Personally, I think it'd be cool because I think ties in American football are stupid as fuck. All right, moving on to some more free agency fever. So, probably the biggest piece of news related to this free agency, because he technically was a free agent, is the retirement of 15-year Eagles legend Brandon Graham. His retirement press conference came Tuesday after an emotional, heartfelt message to the city of Philadelphia and Eagles fans worldwide. The former first-round pick of 2010 got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but soon became one of the most beloved Eagles players in modern franchise history. With nearly 220 games under his belt, he leads all Eagles players with the most games played in franchise history. He's overcome injuries and adversity to become a staple in Eagles culture. This man is the definition of resilience, especially with overcoming his triceps injury from November to give it one last game on the biggest stage in American sports in Super Bowl 59. Even though he'd played just 13 snaps, he sent a message to the world with every single one of them. A two-time Super Bowl champion and future Eagles Hall of Famer, thank you, Brandon Graham, for everything you have done for this Eagles organization. One of only 4 Eagles players in franchise history to win 2 Super Bowls with the team, your legacy will live on for years to come. We will sincerely miss you on the field 55, but wish you the absolute best in all of your future endeavors. Also, thank you for signing my Eagles Autism Foundation mini helmet back at the open practice last summer. I really appreciate that. We got a re-signing, although it's more like an extension going on, as the Eagles agreed to terms with All-Pro tackle Lane Johnson on a one-year contract extension that'll place him with the Eagles through 2027. We had some more Eagles depart during free agency, so we'll list and discuss the most recent departures since our last episode. You have offensive lineman Mekhi Becton is no longer an Eagle as he departs Philly in free agency, signing with the Los Angeles Chargers on a 2-year, $20 million deal. Additionally, as of Wednesday, offensive lineman Fred Johnson is no longer an Eagle, signing a 1-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wide receiver Paris Campbell signs with Dallas on a 1-year contract. All right, those are the most recent departures as of Wednesday the 19th, and I'm going to go over those a little quick. I'm a little bummed that Fred Johnson is no longer an Eagle. I actually got to meet him personally at the 2024 Eagles Autism Challenge. Super nice guy. Super nice guy. As for his skills on the field, he had a little hard time in his first game of the season in relief of an injured player, but he definitely picked things up later throughout the year for sure. When he started against the Bengals, he held his own against All-Pro edge rusher Trey Hendrickson, as well as edge rusher Josh Hines-Allen in the Jaguars when he started that game. It'll be interesting to see who they replace him with, but I wish him the best of luck down in Jacksonville. As for Paris Campbell, I don't mind seeing him leave. He mainly spent time on the practice squad or as like a wide receiver 4 or 5 role due to injuries. I'm not really tripping over that. I'm more upset that we couldn't retain Mekhi Becton. Dude went from being a potential bust to an absolute unit for the Philadelphia Eagles in just 1 year. Now, I know there was worries about him being injury prone. We saw him get like mildly injured a few different times throughout the year, including once in the Super Bowl, I think. So I can understand the hesitancy to want to re-sign or pay him out a big contract because of those potential future injury issues. However, you gotta love the dude, man. Despite a lot of people being against the move in the beginning, his story is incredible and he showed what hard work, dedication, and ignoring the critics can do in resurrecting one's career. Now, I had a feeling that this was coming after we picked up Kenyon Green in that trade with Houston. I was just kind of hoping that it'd be more of like a depth rotational piece behind Becton, because I still don't know how I feel about Kenyon Green potentially starting. Anyway, as upset as I am about him leaving, I couldn't be more happy for Becton and his success story in Philly, and I do hope he replicates that with the Chargers. I ain't gonna be that type of dude who wishes for the failure or downfall of a player simply because they left our team in free agency. That's just dumb. At the end of the day, the NFL is also a business, plus the players need to make decisions that will benefit their overall athletic and financial success. So Mekhi, thank you for helping our team get to a second chip. We will always be grateful for the contributions you have made. Good luck out in LA. All right, now that we've talked about the departures, we got a lot of acquisitions after damn near not signing anybody in like the first few days of free agency. So we're going to talk a little bit about the guys that we just picked up since last Wednesday and kind of go over what I feel about it. Some takeaways, if you will. Starting off, the Eagles had acquired edge Joshua Uche from the New England Patriots on a 1-year deal. After logging 11.5 sacks in the 2022 season, Uche has yet to replicate that success in the 2 years following. Originally drafted to the New England Patriots in 2020, he spent just over 4 seasons with them before being traded just before the trade deadline last season to the Super Bowl runner-up Kansas City Chiefs. In only 6 games with the Chiefs, he made less than 10 tackles, no sacks, an underwhelming tenure, if you will. He adds depth to a young edge rusher position, and under Vic Fangio's scheme, we'll see if there's a little bit of a resurgence. During his press conference signing, he said, "I'm 26 years old. I still got a lot left in the tank." Part of Howie's inexpensive signing pattern. Let's hope this 1-year deal is beneficial to the edge rusher group that is now down both Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. We also have tight end Harrison Bryant, who was acquired from the Las Vegas Raiders on a 1-year deal. He played 4 years with the Cleveland Browns and last year for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's accumulated 10 touchdowns over the past 5 years. He'll look to compete for either a tight end 3 position or possibly a tight end 2 position if somehow we see a Dallas Goedert departure and the Eagles don't draft a replacement tight end in the upcoming NFL draft. We also got a kind of a bigger signing, if you will. One of the better free agents that were remaining up through this point was edge rusher Azeez Ojulari, who was acquired from the New York Giants on a 1-year deal. One of the top available free agents remaining going into the second week of free agency. He had 6 sacks last year while being used more as a situational pass rusher behind Brian Burns, all in only 11 games. Now, when I saw this, I was like, it's kind of given Bryce Huff vibes in the sense of being used as a situational player. Although on a $4 million deal, it's a hell of a lot of a lower risk, low cost type of situation signing, unlike the $17 million a year that we have given for Bryce Huff. I'm worried about his injury history though, since he has not played a full season in the last 3 years, with his rookie season being the only complete healthy season. Especially because these injuries involve the calf, the ankle, hamstring, quad, and toe. A lot of lower body extremity injuries we got going on. So I'm a little concerned about the injuries as a potential barrier to his success. But again, it is a low-cost signing, so we could see how this plays out. And like I said with Uche under the Fangio system, we could see a little bit of a difference in him, maybe an explosion similar to his well-played rookie season. So I look forward to seeing what he's capable of going into this 2025 season. Another acquisition from New York is cornerback Adoree Jackson, who signs with the Eagles on a 1-year deal. Jackson was a first-round pick in 2017 for the Tennessee Titans. He's only got 4 interceptions over his career, so not super impressive, and that makes me see him more as like some depth security as well as some veteran presence as the Eagles look to keep the starting lineup with younger players. He's probably going to be the oldest one in the defensive room at 29, and that says a lot about what we're doing on that defense here. We also have punt returner and kick returner Avery Williams, who was acquired from the Atlanta Falcons on a 1-year deal. He's averaged nearly 28 yards a carry on kick returns and nearly 10 yards a carry on punt returns. He spent 4 seasons in Atlanta serving primarily on the special teams as a return specialist, which is what I imagine he is going to be used for the Eagles. Now, I do love the amount of experience he has and the high volume of yards on kick returns, so this will be an interesting player to look out for on special teams. Speaking of special teams, we have a notable special team player from a few years ago, edge Patrick Johnson, re-signs with the Eagles after also being acquired from the New York Giants. We're just taking players from them, it seems like, as he signs on a 1-year deal. We drafted Johnson back in 2021 in the 7th round, where he mainly served on special teams for us. He'll be a good addition to special teams, plus he's got that experience with the Eagles, so that's always a plus. Not a bad depth, low-cost signing for the Birds. Now the Eagles, an interesting signing that I did not expect. We signed long snapper Charlie Hewlett, acquired from the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year deal. Although, not really much to say. He's a long snapper. No offense to the long snappers out there. I've long snapped when I played football before in the past. There's just not a ton of info you can really say about a long snapper. And finally, we have tight end Kylan Branson, acquired from the Indianapolis Colts on a 1-year deal. He was known more so for being a blocking tight end than a pass-catching one. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jack Stoll in the sense that he also acted more so as a blocking tight end than anything. A decent depth signing at 6'3", 242 pounds. Branson could add some strength and some size to the line to provide additional run blocking, as I imagine he'll be in a similar situation to Harrison Bryant. So, with all these signings so far, here are my current takeaways. Starting off, it looks like the Rick Lovato and Britton Covey eras will come to an end, because I cannot imagine any team carrying 2 long snappers. So Rick, thank you for your help over 9 years, a 2-time Super Bowl champ. Good luck to whatever happens to you next. Plus, I mentioned last week how the Eagles chose not to tender punt returner, kick returner, and wide receiver Britton Covey, so it's likely we see him exit Philly as well. My next takeaway is that it seems to be more increasingly likely that Dallas Goedert could leave Philly. We have a crowded tight end room now that we've added 2 more in free agency. Nothing has been confirmed so far, but with Goddard's injury history and Howie Roseman's desire to make more frugal signings and or draft replacements, this could be the last time we see Goddard in an Eagles uniform. If the Eagles draft a tight end early, I imagine that they would only confirm these suspicions. My third takeaway is that we may look to have another draft filled with defensive players. With Uche, Hunt, Smith, Ojulari, Johnson, and Huff, we have a large amount of edge rushers. Doesn't necessarily mean we won't draft one, but it's looking less likely after having those 6 active on the roster now. There's also been some rumors floating around about the Eagles potentially being a trade candidate for Jacksonville Jaguars edge rusher and former first-round pick Trayvon Walker. He's a former Georgia Bulldog, and as we know how much Howie loves his Bulldog defenders, that's something to look out for. However, the big thing here is that we only have 3 safeties who've played any regular season games on our roster so far, with Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, and Tristan McCullum. Unless the Eagles make a signing with guys like either Justin Simmons or Julian Blackmon, I could see the Eagles using a first-round pick and or possibly trading up early in the second round with one of their later round picks to get someone like Georgia Bulldog Malachi Starks, especially if he falls out of that first round. Another kind of concern that leads me to this takeaway is that we only have 2 healthy interior linebackers, that being Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., with Nakobe Dean's recovery time still unknown. So it is possible we could look to the draft there as well, with special attention to guys like Jihad Campbell, Jalen Walker, Barrett Carter, or Danny Stutzman. My last takeaway is, could there be one more signing before the draft? I think it's possible. Guys like Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, Zadarius Smith, Calais Campbell, Asante Samuel Jr., guys like these and more are still available. If we don't want to make a huge splash, we could get a couple more inexpensive deals, such as linebacker Kaiser White of the Cardinals, who was with the Eagles about 2 years ago, or we could also reunite with another former Eagle in Rasul Douglas, as he is still a free agent at this moment. If Philly is going on the cheaper route, I could see guys like White or Douglas being signed over guys like Blackmon, Smith, or Campbell. All right, y'all, so that is actually it for this week's episode. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at Second and 15. That's 2NDAND15. Or by the full name Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode, Second and 15, and Old City Sports Network are sponsored by Warlord Beard Oil. Head on over to warlordbeardoil.com and use our promo code Old Sports with an E at the end of old, all caps, to get 15% off your beard oils, washes, soaps, and many other products for all of your beard care needs. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping. We are also brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the app and use our promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off of your first purchase. We're also brought to you by Robert Hangholt Construction. If you are in the greater Philadelphia region and you are looking for someone to help you out with your next home project, maybe you need your roof fixed, you want some new siding, you want to make an addition to that deck, call the #1 contractor in the area at 610-348-1066 to get a free estimate today. We're also brought to you by Decals by Aaron. Head on over to decalsbyaaron.com for all of your Delco products and merchandise. Your #1 spot for everything Delco, that's Decals by Aaron. We're also sponsored by Iron and Steel Threads. Head on over to ironsteelthreads.com and use our promo code OldCity10 for 10% off the entire website, and a portion of all purchases will go to youth hockey organizations. Our final 2 sponsors are Uncle John's Barbecue Stand, located in Claymont, Delaware. Check them out for some local delicious barbecue and sauces, only at Uncle John's Barbecue Stand. Finally, we have custom concessions. If you're in the market for repairs to your food truck or trailer, or you're just getting into the food truck business and need reliable service, check out none other than Custom Concessions. They use high quality material, provide high quality service. Use the sponsors tab on oldcitysports.com to check them out today. And while you're on our website, go ahead and click that merchandise tab so you can get some awesome gear from 2nd and 15, as well as some other shows like Check the Net and Flyers Alley. Once again, thanks y'all for joining. This is 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network. We'll be back next week where we will continue to look out for anything else free agency, as well as bring you more Eagles content that comes our way. See y'all then. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds.